everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review, and today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the new Marvel Legends Infinite Series Fearless Defenders Valkyrie figure. Now this figure is part of the Avengers Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure wave, the third wave of Avengers Legends, and it comes packaged in the same style of packaging we've seen with those other Avengers Legends figures. You've got the Build-A-Figure Hulkbuster logo up top, you've got the regular Marvel Comics logo at the top of the packaging, then the figure is clearly displayed in the window box packaging, and then we have the Marvel Legends Infinite Series logo down below. And it says this is Fearless Defender. So this figure and the Thundra figure share the same kind of packaging. Basically, it's a swap type figure, even though both figures are shipping in the same assortments. So on one side we have a picture of Valkyrie, and then on the other we have a picture of Thundra, and then on the back we have a picture of both figures with a little brief bio for the Fearless Defenders in multiple languages. And then we have a look at all the figures in the Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure wave down below. Okay, so let's get this figure open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. So first of all, the figure comes with the right arm for the Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure, which we'll be taking a look at once we have all the parts from all the different figures in the wave and the figure assembled. We'll do our separate Hulkbuster figure reviews. But I just want to show you the arm, and it's definitely, the arm has got some weight to it, and it's definitely pretty big, comes up to the chest of the Valkyrie figure. So you can see, just kind of get a sense of how big that Hulkbuster figure is going to be. Pretty large, and like I said, this is definitely pretty heavy. So besides that, the figure also comes with a sword. Now the detail on this sword is not too stellar as far as paint applications go. It's basically a plastic goldish color for the handle. Looks like they've got a little bird head sculpted on the end there, and then just a silver metallic paint used on the blade. Now the blade is, at least on mine, came out of the packaging fairly straight, and it's a fairly sturdy plastic, so I don't think you have to worry too much about warping on this one, which is good. Just a few more paint applications like on the handle might have been nice, but otherwise it's not too bad of a looking sword. And she'll hold the sword in both hands. Now her fingers are kind of, when you first get her open, are kind of closed together tight, so you kind of have to pull the fingers back a little bit to get the sword in there. But she will hold the sword in both her left and her right hand. And you can even get her into some kind of, some two-handed poses if you want to. Okay, so the details on the figure as far as paint applications go are pretty simple. There's not a lot of wash work on this figure. A little bit on her hair, so looks like there's a little bit of wash on her hair to give it added dimension. And I do like how the ponytails are sculpted. I think they've done a pretty good job with that. She's got the little white braids or barrettes, or whatever you want to call these, wraps on the ends for the pigtails. Now on mine there's a little bit of a, looks like a little bit of a white mark blemish on the end of one of the ponytails, but not too big of a deal. The face sculpt, I don't know, I'm kind of mixed on it, depending on the angle you look at. And she definitely has kind of a brooding type look. When you kind of get up close and really look at it, I don't know, it looks a little off to me. But then again, when I look at it more from afar, it definitely, you know, it seems like they've captured the overall likeness from what I recall seeing in the comic book. So I don't know, I'm a little mixed. I'm not a huge Valkyrie fan to begin with, so, you know, in part, you know, I'm just not that enthused about this character, period. But for the head or the face sculpt, I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little mixed. Now, I will say that depending on what angle you're looking at, with the way the hair is sculpted, it almost looks like she has kind of a big forehead, especially if you look at her from the side. So that kind of throws it off a little bit for me as well. So I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on this face sculpt. I don't think it's terrible by any means. And again, especially when you're just kind of looking at it, you know, I think they've captured the overall look of Valkyrie. But when you kind of get up close, especially with like the camera and stuff, then I don't know. It looks a little off to me, especially from the side because of that forehead being kind of big and that kind of brooding face expression is a little off to me as well. So for the rest of the paint applications on the body, I think they're pretty good. I mean, for her costume, it's basically just a solid black, and then she's got the silver metallic around her neck. Now there is a little bit of sloppiness on the paint around her neck. It's not terribly noticeable until you kind of really look at it up close. So like with the camera, when you get the close-up images, it's much more noticeable. But when I'm just kind of looking at the figure in general, it doesn't bother me too much. So, again, with these figures, I don't expect necessarily, these are mass-produced figures and stuff, so I don't necessarily expect perfection. I know some of you kind of get on these figures for when there's a little bit of sloppiness, so, I want to point that out. But basically, it doesn't bother me too much unless you really get up close and look at it. But I just wanted to point out here in the neck area is a little bit of sloppiness. And the one other area where it's kind of funny to me is when you look at her breastplates, where you kind of pull back the ponytails and you're looking at her breastplates head on, her left breast seems a little bit bigger than her right. I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me. Again, it's not a major deal, especially when the pigtails are down in front, like normally is on the figure. But when you pull them back and you're looking at her breast head on, just the way those breastplates are done, it makes her one breast look a little bit bigger than the other. She's got the silver wristbands, which are just painted on, and then she's also got the black bands on her biceps, which are just painted on. And then she's got the belt, which is attached to the figure. It looks like it's glued to the figure. It's not removable or anything, and it's done in a brown color with the silver belt buckles and the little silver, I guess, spikes that go around the belt. Now, I think the skin tones on the figure are really good. I think they did a good job with the skin tones on this one, so no complaints with the skin tones. And then she's got the red lipstick and the blue eyes. The paint applications on the face are pretty good. So the figure stands at just about 7 inches tall. It's definitely one of the larger female scaled figures. It's the same height and uses some of the same body parts as the red She-Hulk figure Hasbro did. So this figure, from what I can tell, shares the same legs and the same arms as She-Hulk. Now the hands are different. We've got with the She-Hulk, she's got those little belts around her gloves. So the hands are definitely different, but the arms and the legs are the same. Now the midsection, the head sculpt, seems to obviously be new. And then I am not sure about this midsection. I would say it's new, it's unique, with the breastplates and stuff, unique to Valkyrie. But the only thing that kind of throws me off is when you're looking at the back, you can see here on her butt area and even on the front, it looks like you can see this lines that looks like almost as like a suit that kind of like went up around her thigh, almost kind of like Elektra or something. But I don't think this is reused from the Elektra figure. But that's the only figure that I can think of that has like the suit that kind of goes up over her thigh. So this almost looks like this would have been some skin color here and then the costume here, and you can see the line work, and they just painted over it. So that almost says to me like this is a reused part, but I can't match it up with anything. I can't. I don't know of any other larger scale figures. It's not from She-Hulk, because you can see the She-Hulk costume does not have that kind of line work. At least I don't. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's from She-Hulk. So I don't think it's a reuse of She-Hulk. And again, this could just be new. I don't know. Maybe a future figure. This is going to be used in a future figure. I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, feel free to chime in on the comment section. But as far as I can tell, I guess I'd say this midsection is a new part. But definitely the legs and the arms are reused from the She-Hulk. Articulation on the figure is pretty decent. The head's on a ball joint, so she can look left and right. Even with the pigtails, it doesn't limit her head movement at all, at least as far as left and right. Now she can look down a little bit. She can't really look up, so I guess the hair does limit a little bit of how much she can look up, but she can look down pretty good. Arms are attached with your standard ball hinge joints, so she can get her arms all the way out, and she's got good rotation. She's got the bicep swivel. She's got the single hinged elbow, so she can bend her elbow about that much. And then she's got the swivel wrists and the hinges on the wrist, so she's got up or down movement, which allows her to get some two-handed sword poses and stuff. It would have been maybe nice if they had done the hinges on the upper part of at least on one of the hands, for that kind of up or down movement, kind of like we see with some of the Star Wars figures with the lightsaber. That would have been maybe nice, but for the most part, she's got pretty good movement there at the wrist. She's got midsection joints, so she's got the swivel and can kind of pivot. Not much in the way of crunch there. She can look back a little bit. She's got the ball joints at the leg, so she can do the splits that much. Now, if you have some kind of winged steed / horse for her to ride, because I think in the comics she has a tendency to ride a white winged horse, so I think you'd probably be able to get her to fit. If you had something like that, you'd be able to get her to sit on it pretty good. She can get her leg forward about that much, and she can't really do her leg back very much because of the way the butt is sculpted. She's got the thigh swivel. She's got the double jointed knee, so she's got good bending at the knee, and then she's got the ankle pivot. And then 2 peg holes on the bottom of her feet. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I'd say this is a halfway decent figure, or maybe I even used the word fair. Again, part of it's I'm just not a huge Valkyrie fan, so the character just doesn't do much for me, period. I think the face sculpt is okay, especially when you're just looking at it, like if it's just sitting on your shelves. It seems to, resemble Valkyrie as we see her in the comics. I do kind of think when you start looking at it up close, just that pouting expression to me looks a little bit off. And when you look at the figure's head from the side, the forehead just looks a little big with the way the hair sculpted. But, I understand because of the ponytails and stuff, that's kind of the reason. So it's kind of understandable. And again, it's only when you really kind of start looking at it up close that it kind of bothers me a little bit. Same with the paint applications. A little bit of sloppiness there around the neck, but again, unless you're really getting up close with like the camera or something, I don't think it's that bad. I don't really expect perfection on these mass-produced figures as far as paint applications go. I know some of you do, and I understand that, but to me it's just not really a realistic expectation to expect perfect paint applications on figures like this. But that being said, I would say this is a fair figure, and if you're a fan of Valkyrie, then I think you'll definitely want to add this one to your collection. If you like the 4-inch Marvel Universe version that Hasbro did, then I think you'll definitely like this one as well. The sword could have used a little more paint applications for more detail, and I would have liked maybe to have seen a loop or something put on her belt so you could stick the sword in. But otherwise, again, I think it's a good representation for the character. So this figure is slated to hit, along with the rest of the Hulkbuster wave, should start hitting shelves here in the United States probably by mid-August. That's not a set in stone release date, but that is when I would expect you to start seeing these figures hit shelves here in the United States. Overseas, they'll probably hit sooner, and even could be a little bit sooner here in the U.S. But like I said, if you really are looking for a date to start looking for these, I would say mid-August. The Ant-Man and the Spider-Man Legends will be out sooner. They'll be out in July. So you definitely should have plenty of Marvel Legends figures to tide you over in the coming weeks, because we're going to get hit with basically 3 waves almost right on top of each other. So that's my review. As always, we'll have a full gallery of images of this figure over at marvelousnews.com. So there's a link in the description below for that. And as always, we ask, chime in, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And I will be doing my next review probably on Monday. I've got a half Ironman triathlon race I'm doing on Sunday. So I'm not going to have a review tomorrow, but my next review will be on Sunday or on Monday, so stay tuned for that. I haven't decided which one I'm going to review next. It's either probably going to be the Marvel Now Iron Man or maybe Doctor Strange. I know a lot of you have been asking for Doctor Strange, so we'll probably get that one up next. And so, like I said, be sure to tune in, and until next time, I'll catch you all later.